Hey all, and welcome to Press Pause. This is a brand new series, a union between Altered Universe and Geek Freaks. I am Frank, and I'm joined by Rob.
Hey guys.
Today we're going to be talking about, Press Pause is generally going to be about mental health in gaming, different issues in different games, and how the two work and fight every day. So today's going to be about Niantic's Pokemon Go. Rob, what is your experience with Pokemon Go?
Usually, I would say 98% of the time, the game is great. I'm one of the players that, does it for fun. I obviously, like to go hunt for my shinies. I like to, get my streaks and all that stuff. I wouldn't say super hardcore. I'm not going out to be raiding all the time. But I definitely use it as a kind of a way to get out of, the world for a few minutes. And being a Pokemon obsessed person as I am, I was like, oh my God, a new Pokemon game. I'm in. Of course, I have the Switch and all that too. So you can tell where that comes from. But Pokemon Go, I play it for the fun. And I think that's originally what this game was meant to be for, I believe.
I agree, yeah. And then Pokemon Go in particular was a great way to get people out and socializing. That was the idea behind it. And when it first released, it was a fantastic new way of playing video games. I like the idea of like, in case you guys didn't know, I'm a Pokemon fan, and then behind you we have an array of Pokemon on the walls. I'm always distracted by that wonderful Eevee poster. It's my favorite.
It's one of my best.
Yeah. So Pokemon Go, when it first started, everybody was out there and playing. Nowadays, the numbers have dwindled, but those that are there are uber fans. Uh, they actually had made some changes in 2020 due to the pandemic and made the game a little easier to use. Can you explain some of the changes they made in 2020?
Okay, so of course, being that we weren't supposed to be going outside, they made the game easier to be played from at home. Meaning, one of the instances would be for the battle league in the game. You used to have to walk to earn points to open that up. You would be able to do that for free without having to go anywhere. One of my favorite things was the incense. Usually, you'd have to move around to make it really work. They increased the effectiveness, for if you were driving or walking from seating at your home. So a lot of the things were basically changed so that way you can still go out if you want to, but you can still more or less play the game from your home.
Okay. Now, for the pandemic sense, it makes everything makes sense, right? You're staying away from other
Right.
people, you're keeping your distance, works really well. How did those changes help those with mental health issues?
Um, well, not until recently did I really see the effect, but it seems to me from what I've been reading, it made I don't know. I guess it made the game more enjoyable to play. Of course, it made it easier to play because you didn't have to be, you could hit a stop from a longer distance.
Right.
But I think, at least from my point of view, it made it more enjoyable because you weren't focusing on things. You were able to go out there, do your thing, come back, boom, you were done.
Right. A game like Pokemon Go that's so community driven and the more the merrier, does that help someone with mental health have a way of socializing with others?
Yeah, I mean, I think generally speaking, if you are more introverted and it's harder to, to communicate, it's a much easier way to correspond. They don't have it in a way that other games do, where you can, chat regularly, but I feel like that could be a next step for them.
Right.
But as far as what they do now, I think it gives you more accessibility than you may not have had prior.
Okay. Yeah, it sounds like Pokemon Go, with the changes that they've made, basically we're welcoming more people, and everybody was on board. People were safer from the pandemic, and we were finding benefits for those with mental health disabilities, and also those that had physical disabilities, not able to leave the house, and now they're able to actually
Right.
participate in all the fun. But Niantic, being a video game company and having to go by profits alone, have made some changes back recently. Can you explain what their next move is?
Well, for those who played before 2020, the game is going back to what it was beforehand, and that pretty much means you're playing the game the way they intended it to be played. So you go out there, you have to be a certain distance from a stop to spin it, you have to be a certain distance from a gym to battle. Um, like I said about the incense, if you want it to work better, you got to be on the move. Um, and generally speaking, those things weren't necessarily bad generally, but even for those without any, mental or physical disabilities, the fact that you can have a game be easier on yourself, I would think would just be plus for everybody.
Hmm.
So that's where we're at. We're basically back to what the game started at back in, what was it, 2016, I think.
Yeah. Now, when you look into the numbers of it, Niantic actually more than doubled their profits in 2020 after they made the moves, meaning more people were coming back, new players were joining the game. So
Right.
why would Niantic make these changes?
Isn't that the question we always, yeah. No, I mean, I, I mean, business is business, and you've talked to me about it. I've talked to you about it. You've written about it. I understand that you got to make money, to keep yourself up, But this is why so many outside businesses too have the same problem. Reasons why businesses go out of business. Um, it's important to obviously keep your company afloat, but in order to keep it afloat, you got to also make sure you keep the people that are paying for you to keep it afloat.
Right.
Um, if you don't want to, buy, and a lot of people, right now are saying, don't buy, which I kind of am on 50-50 on that, but it's a business thing. I get how you have to do things to make money, but you also have to understand whether it's a game, a movie, whatever, you got to make sure that the person buying can actually accept what you're giving in a regular way. And I'm not talking safety wise, I'm just talking normalcy wise. Like
Yeah.
if I'm going to order a couch, you got to make it come to me in a way that physically can get to me. If you expect to fly it over and drop it on, whatever, there are things that a company, and I know that it's funny, but
Yeah.
there are things that companies have to do that just make sense. And businesses don't do that, unfortunately, in my opinion.
Right. Right. What changes could Niantic do? Either keep their changes, I'm not saying to that, but what additional changes can they do to better the game for those with mental health issues?
I mean, look, it comes down, I think, generally to ease of use. If you or someone can't, doesn't want to, whatever, if you can't play the game, you're not going to play the game at some point. You should keep in accessibility changes that will help you on a regular basis. So, for instance, you or I, our job is more freelance as it is, but let's say you are a office building job and you have to be in your office 9 to 5. And hey, there used to be a Pokestop next to you that you could spin from your chair, but now the distance has changed. You can't spin it. It's not so much that we're asking for a cheat, but if you want people to keep on enjoying it, give them some extras regularly to keep them doing it. I'm not telling you to give them a bunch of free rare Pokemon. I'm saying if it's easy for somebody to spin from their office chair and that's what's keeping them playing, then why not keep that distance short so that way those people continue to play. So I think what they have to do is they got to use common sense. And I don't think no offense to them, I don't think they have the common sense needed
Right.
to run a business, let alone a gaming business.
That's the hard part, right? Because Niantic itself is actually quite small compared to the actual Pokemon company.
Right.
And so these decisions are being made by a very small app developer that started out with his own little geo-syncing game. Then Pokemon came around, and then after that, they're like, let's do it again. Let's do Harry Potter. And everything since then has kind of flopped. It's Pokemon that's the golden goose. And it's funny that it's just, you feel how small this company is when they make these decisions like this, because Pokemon has teams of lawyers that would be like, hey, you know what, guys? Let's be smart about this. And Niantic does not have that team, apparently. Yeah, what kind of features do you think they should add to this game to improve it for those with mental health? I was thinking, like you were saying before, the chat system would be really nice if you could chat with your friends, stay communicated, and then coordinate different times to go out and like raid together. Maybe
Well,
someone who
that
needs
that
somebody
makes all the
else.
difference.
Yeah.
A lot of times, I'm not, they added the remote home, and you don't have to go anywhere. But the problem is that if you're trying to go take down a legendary, you need, let's say, 10 people. I'm
Mm-hmm.
just making a number. I have about 15 people on my list. They're not always on, and I don't
Right.
even know who half of these people are, to be honest. And I don't need to necessarily. But the problem is that if I'm in the mood to do it, whatever, and there's nobody around, how am I supposed to get it if I can't get a hold of somebody? So, for instance, like the chat thing, if there's a way to say, hey, I'm about to raid, I have 15 minutes, who's around, I would bet, kind of like I'm sure you played games with the chat system, you probably
Yes.
would get a response pretty quick, maybe within a minute or two.
Yeah.
Um, but I really, I mean, I think generally the things that need to be done, and I know it's about mental health, but I think generally just need to be things for people just to make it easier to do.
Right.
I'm in 120-degree weather right now. So if they want me to walk around, they're freaking crazy. I can't go outside because
Yeah.
it's that hot. But if I want to use an incense and I'm stuck at home, I'd like it to be a little better, to
Right. Of
give me a
course.
chance. I can go out and drive, sure. But again, why am I kind of circling my neighborhood looking like a weird whatever when you can make it, whatever. And that's just one of the many. But I think the word accessibility is key.
Yeah.
Make it easy for anybody to play, whether or not you have a disability or not. But especially those who have physical or mental, make it easier just so that way when they open the app, they're not like dreading what's going to happen. Like they want to open the app because they want to play. And I think unfortunately nobody wants to play, and they're just like, I'm opening the app because it's just a habit now. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
it's, um,
That dreading is a really great example. It was really good um, example of like stress inducing from video games, which happens
yeah,
often. There's a difference between like frustration and just like really having to get past a goal in a video game. There's a new thing that's happening that's actually stress from video. We see it in MMO and games that really take up a lot of your time, and Pokemon Go is a good example of that. Do you ever feel moments where you're just like, this is more of a job than it is a game right now?
well, I definitely, like I said, I'm obsessed with hunting for the shiny. So like when
Right.
I don't get it, I'm just like, ugh. I luckily can come back to earth and be like, okay, I'm done. But yeah, I mean, it's because my work is very sparse and I have a lot of time. Yeah, the game does kind of fill in the bubbles of when I have my free time. I don't know if I'd ever say go as far as a job, but definitely when I play it now, it is definitely more of like, okay, let's get this done. Like I'm
Right.
looking for something, and then when it happens, it makes it that much better because you're like, oh, hallelujah. But it's yeah, I mean, I think for some with with anxiety, OCD, stuff like that, you definitely put yourself in there, and they don't know they're doing it, but because for those who have anxiety, there are triggers that do it.
Right.
Unfortunately, this game is full of them, and Niantic doesn't realize what it's necessarily
Exactly.
doing. And that's even besides, because they were having a problem with seizures for a while too, and there was a whole thing there. But that's the problem with them is that they think they're just making a game, but the more they try or the more they do, the worse they're making it. And it's like, just stop for 2 seconds and like take a break, go take a vacation, and then come back and try to like, fix your problem.
Right. What do you say to those that have this addiction to Pokemon Go? How can they break that addiction? Give them some tips right now. This is your moments to give them some. We just talked about an episode of
Uh,
Pokemon. That's a good way to take a break. Go watch an episode of Pokemon. Any other tips?
I mean, I may be the bad person to ask that, but no, I mean, for those who are fans of Pokemon in general, there are a lot of fun things you can do. Watching the anime. There's other games to play. If you guys, happen to pop on YouTube, you can take a tour through like the Pokemon Center in Japan.
Ooh, that's a
You
good
can see
idea.
the Pokemon Cafe. Um, I don't know. I think the anxiety cartoon where it's like go outside, damn it, there's something out there. That's kind of what you got to make yourself do once in a while. Which I
Yeah.
know it's hard for me. It's hard for anybody who has it. But I think once in a while you kind of, at least for me, I kind of have to force myself to just kind of like put the phone down, go do something. To it later if I want to.
Yeah.
But I would just say, I mean, there's plenty of things you can do with Pokemon if you want to do that. But just generally speaking, go, watch a movie, go play, go another video game,
Yeah.
go, take a walk. I would just say try to get yourself to just kind of do something for a few minutes. Don't force it, but just kind of like try just find something you might want to enjoy as well as much,
Yeah.
and maybe do that for a few minutes and just kind of see if that calms you down a little bit. It's hard. The one thing I hate doing and the one thing I hate seeing on Twitter is people tell you what to do.
Right.
I know what works for me. I don't know what works for somebody else, but
Right.
for works for me is I would say go do something for 10 minutes and then maybe come back. And that kind of is what I do. If that helps someone, great. But
Yeah.
I think somebody will be able to figure out what'll work for them, knowing what they do personally. I think they'll have their happy place. to go to.
Self-analyzing is so important for your mental health. I know myself, I'm always constantly self-analyzing, like, this is stressing me out, is it worth me being here doing this, and stuff like that. So you have to always be doing that. A suggestion that I have for you guys, of course you're into Pokemon, we all have been that way. um, do a journal, okay, and do a fan fiction for Pokemon. So just kind of start writing a
Huh?
short story that you like. Maybe you're talking about Ash, but more importantly, I think it's funner to put yourself in the story. You're walking around in Kanto region, you come across a Pidgey, do a whole thing, and then the journal form is really nice because if you actually do it in journal form, you only have to write 1 day summary of what happened. So it could be like 2 paragraphs you talking about finding a Pidgey and having a hard time catching it, and you're using your Caterpie to do it or whatever. You could really just kind of make a fun story out of it, and it's Pokemon related. It's creative. It's a creative endeavor, and you create something that you could keep forever. And it's a nice little way to kind of take a break, and it lets your mind wander into another region. So that's always fun to do. So think about something like that, maybe. Now we've given suggestions to the players. Let's give some suggestions to Niantic. How can Niantic become a better company involving mental health?
Stop being a company called Niantic and do something else. Um,
What's Plan B?
what Plan B? Plan B is get a new job and do something you can do better. Um, it's tough because I think companies are just as afraid as those of us who have it
Hmm.
because they don't necessarily know what to do.
Right.
Some people may just not care and not want to deal with it, and if that's the case, that's unfortunate. Those people probably shouldn't be working, but that's for another day.
Right.
For those who maybe want to and just don't know, I mean, the easiest way to do it is just respond, talk to the people playing. Plenty of times I try to contact them through the game and I get the most normal automated paragraph that was not written by anybody. And I'm just like, okay, that was a waste of my time, waste of your time,
Exactly.
whatever. I think that's really what you have to do. You have to have somebody in that position. I guess it's called customer service. I don't know.
Yeah.
And you just have to have one or two people that just responds to emails or just responds to text or whatever they use in the game. Um, that's all you're going to be able to do to start something.
Yeah.
I don't think there's going to be anything you can do unless somebody sits down and reads. Hey, read something for like
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
say reading's good for you. So that's really what I think. They need to have somebody who's in charge of just answering emails, but actually answering emails, not giving me like, oh, we'll get back to you in 2 to 7 days. Um, so yeah,
Yeah.
it's tough.
We could hear the frustration in you, Robin. I feel you, man. I'm frustrated with other companies all the time. Right now, it's Blizzard. It breaks my heart what they're doing. So I feel you. One thing that I think would be very useful for Niantic, something to consider, get a small council, whatever you want to call it, of people who are mental health experts, people who are dealing with mental health issues, and physical disabilities and everything like that. Get this little council. Their job is only to weigh in on your decisions. And then if they have something that's like, hey, you know what, this is going to be really detrimental to those who have anxiety issues, or people who have colorblind issues is a problem that this game's having that people don't talk about very often. Um, all these issues that are there, have a small council that's just that voice in your ear so that you guys don't have to hear it from Twitter or hear it from your players. You guys catch it before it even goes out into the beta. I think that might be a really useful thing. It doesn't cost you much. Just hire some people that are out there willing to help. So, that's the way to go.
If only.
Yeah. Okay, so how can people reach out to Niantic right now if they want to voice their opinion? Because it's important that Niantic hears all these voices.
Um, well, let's see. What hasn't worked for me? Don't do that. They are on Twitter.
Yeah.
They're on Instagram, I believe. Um, I don't know if there's a particular person that we're speaking to that we
Mm-hmm.
would need to reach to. Um, I mean, the only logical thing I can think of right now is tagging them on your posts.
Yeah.
If you go to their website, there's probably a contact here.
Their website's pretty sparse for that, actually. I was looking at that. It's pretty sparse.
Okay, that's what I thought. Yeah, it's been pretty sparse for a few years now. I don't know if there's one person to talk to. I think right now is basically if you need to say something, tag them.
Yeah.
The game allows you to email or send a message. But again, like I said, I don't know if it's really getting to somebody
Yeah,
or if it's getting to an automation.
that's what it sounds like.
So I don't know. You and I will look into that and
Yeah,
see. But I mean, I think Twitter probably is the best right now.
they're and that's saying something, guys, because on Twitter they're pretty awful. Actually, they're people will be like begging for any kind of assistance, and they'll just be like, check out the new Pokemon event, and it's like, oh my god, you guys are not paying attention to us. All right, so our call to action this week, guys. Your call to action. In the link below on this YouTube video, there will be a link to their Twitter account. Head to their Twitter account, send them a message, and our first thing we're going to try to get Niantic to do is to keep the changes from the pandemic. It keeps people safe. We have that Delta variant. We didn't even talk much about the pandemic part of this part that like they really should keep in place. But just for those with physical and mental hurdles to go over, Pokemon made it so much easier for them to actually participate and join with friends. So your first goal out of Press Pause is to go out there, reach out to Niantic, check out that Twitter below, reach out to them, and let's start getting some voices on this. I think that's our best bet.
That sounds good.
Yeah.
I'm so on that.
All right, guys. I am Frank. This is Rob. Rob has a podcast called Altered Universe. Please go check it out. I have a podcast station called Geek Freaks. Listen to any of them. We're all happy over there. And we will be back probably bi-weekly, I think, is what we're going to do this. We'll start building up those episodes, talking about mental health and gaming and how you guys can participate and help. And that'll be it for this first episode. Hope you guys enjoyed. Bye.